Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, passion for excellence.
Here are today's top headlines. Porsche CEO is under investigation. BYD could beat everyone to the market with an EV. And BMW comes out with its most efficient car ever. Up next, we'll be back with the news behind the headlines. This is Autoline Daily for Friday, August 21st, 2009, and here's what's happening in the auto industry. In a shocking development, Wendelin Wiedeking, the former CEO of Porsche, came under investigation for insider trading on stock options. The Wall Street Journal reports that Porsche's former chief financial officer, Holger Harter, is also under investigation. Porsche denies the allegations and points out both executives are cooperating with investigators. And what I find just as interesting, both executives are still on the payroll as consultants to Porsche. And speaking of stock trading, much of the media today is wringing its hands over the fact that some investors are still buying millions of shares of General Motors. The old General Motors, the one in liquidation. Some commentators worry that some investors may be confused and not realize what they're getting into. But I say, these people know exactly what they're getting into. For one thing, this stock is not even called General Motors, it's called Motors Liquidation. And its trading symbol is not the letters G and M, it's MTLQQ. And you can't buy it on any major exchange. Besides, there's tremendous volatility in this stock. Its price, which closed at 85 cents yesterday, can fluctuate more than 50% in one day, which is how you can make a lot of money on a stock. Besides, look at the stock at Delphi, GM's former parts company. It's trading at 4 cents a share, and yesterday nearly 4 million shares traded hands. Hyundai's chairman, Chung Mung-koo, has promoted his son to vice chairman of the company. According to the AP, Chung Wee-sun, who had been a president at Kia, will now be in charge of sales and planning in his new position. But here's the part I don't get. He's one of 6 vice chairmen at Hyundai. I guess the title of vice president just doesn't seem good enough anymore. Chinese auto company BYD plans to enter the U.S. market next year, a year ahead of schedule. According to the Wall Street Journal, BYD plans to sell a few hundred of its all-electric E6 model in a select region of the country next year before it expands its lineup. BYD says the car will be priced slightly above $40,000, but that means it could be the first major automaker in the American market with an EV ready for sale. Hey, if you're thinking about cashing in on cash for clunkers, you better get a move on. According to the Detroit Free Press, the U.S. Cars program is set to expire next Monday at 8 p.m. By that time, the sales stimulus scheme is expected to have burned through the $3 billion allocated for it. And overall, it has been a smashing success, helping to move almost 700,000 cars in less than a month. Initially, it was expected to deliver only 250,000 sales over 3 months. But it's not all rainbows, puppies, and sunshine. The feds have only reimbursed about 8% of the money that dealers are owed, and now GM and Chrysler are advancing cash to their dealers. BMW is set to introduce the most efficient version of the 3 Series at the Frankfurt Motor Show. The 320d Efficient Dynamics Edition is expected to deliver a fuel economy figure of just 4.1 liters per 100 kilometers. For us Americans, that's about 57 miles to the gallon. CO2 emissions should total a measly 109 grams per kilometer. That's less than a Fiat 500 diesel. The new Beamer is powered by a 2-liter turbo diesel with 163 horsepower, which should be enough to power the car from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in about 8.2 seconds. Coming up next, we'll take a look at how Ford managed to get the Fusion Hybrid to deliver 41 miles to the gallon. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 15 seconds.
Changing tires out here could be dangerous, but with these tires, I don't need to worry.
Bridgestone.
On last night's Autoline After Hours, our guest was Nancy Gioia, who runs all of Ford's EV and hybrid programs. A question I was dying to ask her is how Ford was able to get the new Fusion to get such a surprising fuel economy number. Take a look at this clip. You guys did some pretty interesting stuff with the Fusion hybrid from a fuel economy label standpoint, and no one's really saying how you did it. But my guess is your work,
the cone of silence.
The cone of silence, because you got a 41 mile per gallon rating on the Fusion.
Right.
And I think you shocked both. There's a good word to use. You shocked, I think, both Toyota and Honda in getting that. Are you working the batteries harder? Is there now a confidence level, not just at Ford, but in the auto industry, that because remarkably, there's been very few problems with the batteries.
Right.
You know, the Prius, the first generation's been out for over 10 years now, more if you go back to the Japanese market. There really hasn't been much of an issue with these things. So are you working the batteries harder to get this fuel economy label that you got?
Part of it is, yeah, we opened up the state of charge. We understand and we've characterized over the temperature range. We've got enough data and characterization over temperature, we were able to extend what we call the state of charge window. So we can charge it up a little bit higher and we can take it down a little bit lower. Nickel metal hydride loves to live between 40 and 70%, so we opened up that a little bit. That was a part of what we did. We also talked about, we've improved the efficiencies on the motors. We've got greater output on our DC to DCs. We've got fewer losses in the electrical system. Our transmission, we made improvements in that. So, I mean, there wasn't just one thing. And what we also did is locked engineers. We fed them through in raw meat and water on occasion in test chambers where they took the performance of the system nanosecond by nanosecond at times and looked for the whole system imbalances where just because we didn't have that level of view, we were wasting energy. And it was just really eking that out. So the label 4136. I appreciate you saying that we may have shocked him. I think we did, and the great news is we did it. We did that. The bad news is we have to keep doing it. Maybe.
You can find the entire show with Nancy Gioia on our website right now. And now it's time to announce the winner of this week's trivia question. Jim Hall, who filled in for me last Friday, came up with this brain buster. He challenged you to identify the longest running nameplate, as in which car currently sold in the U.S. has been continuously produced the longest. And the correct answer is the Chevrolet Corvette. And this week's winner is Jason Colt of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Congratulations, J-Man. You just won this charming Eyes on Design poster. And that'll do it for this week's top automotive news all across town and around the world. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.